This video is sponsored by DraftKings. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another fighter breakdown for you, which is pretty significant because this guy is going to be fighting this weekend at UFC 274. Yes, we're going to be talking about the champ, Charles Oliveira. What up, everybody? What's up, everybody? We're going to start with a brief background on Charles Oliveira and his rise to UFC champion. And then we'll get into what I believe are his superpowers, his strengths, and his weaknesses. And I'll finish with who I believe is going to win at UFC 274. Let's get into the breakdown. Charles Oliveira da Silva was born October 17th, 1989, in the favelas of Vicente de Carvalho in São Paulo, Brazil. Like many Brazilian kiddos, Charles Oliveira fell in love with the game of football early on and dreamed to become a professional player one day. But at age 7, he fell ill. He had regular pains in his body and had problems walking. And in some cases, couldn't even move his legs. He was officially diagnosed with rheumatic fever and a heart murmur. But despite all of his challenges, Oliveira was introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Oliveira's family wasn't financially well off, but the BJJ gym's coach offered classes for free, and his family helped fund his training by selling street snacks and discarded cardboard. He started his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training under Roger Colo, but was awarded his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Erickson Cardoza and Jorge Patino in 2010. Oliveira began his MMA career in 2007 in his home country of Brazil, compiling a record of 12-0. Fun fact, he compiled multiple wins on the same night. This guy fought 12 times in 1 year and then went pro in 2008. He made his professional debut at Predator Fight Championship. While he started his career off at welterweight, he eventually dropped down to lightweight later in 2008 when he defeated future UFC fighter Mehdi Bagdad. 2 years later in 2010, Oliveira made his UFC debut against Darren Elkins. Oliveira defeated his opponent with a submission, shocking, at 41 seconds in the first round. Leading up to his 10-fight winning streak, he would win some fights and he would lose some fights. In that time, he would lose to UFC greats such as Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone, Cub Swanson, Frankie Edgar, Max Holloway, Anthony Pettis, and Ricardo Lamas, Paul Felder. Golly, that's a slew of guys. After his loss to Paul Felder in 2017, the man you see before you began his reign, defeating his last 10 opponents. So obviously now knowing his background, it's easy to see that Oliveira is one resilient guy, which brings me into his powers and abilities. Before we get into abilities and weaknesses, a quick word from this video's sponsor, DraftKings. Before the bell rings this Saturday at UFC 274, be sure you're in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the UFC. UFC 274 is going to be a banger. We have the lightweight title on the line in Oliveira versus Gaethje, and also we have the strawweight title on the line, Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza. And of course, the return of Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chandler. DraftKings has a knockout offer for new customers. Bet just $5 on any fighter to win and get $150 in free bets if your fighter wins. Could be a first-round knockout, majority draw, or double knockout resulting in a no contest. No matter how your fighter wins, you get paid. That's get $150 in free bets if you place a $5 wager on any fighter to win and they reign victorious. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still feel the thrill of UFC 274 with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Contest. DraftKings will have millions of dollars in total prizes up for grabs for this weekend's event. Don't miss out. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code Wonderboy. Throw down just $5 on any fighter to win during UFC 274 and get $150 in free bets if your fighter wins Saturday night. That's code Wonderboy this Saturday at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the UFC. And starting with, as we all know, he's got some of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out there. So that's got to be his number one, I think, his superpower is. He's long for the division, he's very tall, and he's submitted some of the best guys in the division. He has a total of 20 submission wins, and he's got one of the 6 guillotines in the universe. And there, I think it has to do with his length in the division. He's a lot taller than the guys at 155. He's very, very long, so it's easy for him to slap on those 6 guillotines and choke people out, or rear naked chokes. And for his next superpower, this one came on later in his career, in my opinion, and that is his striking ability. So that's number 2. Not quite as good as jiu-jitsu, but his striking is improving every day. Knocking out notable guys such as Nick Lentz, Jared Gordon, and most recently, the stud Michael Chandler. His striking has improved a lot. He's very good at blocking, countering. His straight punches are on point, and he's super accurate. His boxing is definitely his strong suit. His hands have improved so much. No wonder he's champion. And third power and ability, that came on a little bit later in his win streak, but what I believe solidified him as being champion is his hairdo. Before he fought Tony Ferguson, he decided to go with the blonde hairdo, which amped up, I think, his Super Saiyan powers, right? He went at least to Super Saiyan 3, jumping him up, beating some of the best guys in the division, such as Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and now he's just guys on another level, which will set up nicely for his UFC 274 bout this weekend. Now moving on to what I believe his weaknesses are. Yes, we know he is a resilient guy, but Oliveira has known to kind of dissipate a little bit during the fight when it got tough. So he kind of crumbled a little bit when things weren't going his way. This is what we've seen in the past. We haven't seen this quite recently, but it just was such a notable thing that I've seen whenever I heard the name Oliveira, it just kind of popped in my head. Yes, he's made great changes, he's been looking solid, but it's always in the back of your mind that it's a possibility. So weakness number 1 would be overall toughness. Now weakness number 2, I would say have to be his wrestling. His takedown defense isn't that great because he relies a lot on his jiu-jitsu, his guillotines, so he doesn't mind getting taken down to the ground. Now if he faces off against somebody with pretty good wrestling who can nullify his jiu-jitsu, I believe can come on top. Obviously, it's not on par with his BJJ. So with that being covered, let's get into my pick on who's gonna win at UFC 274. Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. So what does each fighter need to do to win the fight? I'm gonna start off with my man Gaethje. Now Gaethje, he relies a lot on his toughness to win fights, and sometimes that can break people. What else can Gaethje do? Gaethje has bombs for days. Literally dynamite in his hands. He's knocked some of the best guys out of the division. His boxing is not as clean, but he hits fairly hard. So next, I think, would be his leg kick. Justin Gaethje has some of the best leg kicks out there as well. He's known to defeat guys and break guys down with his hard leg kicks. Now, Oliveira is the taller, longer opponent. I think Gaethje can use that to his advantage. So that's what I think Gaethje has to do in order to defeat Oliveira. Use his leg kicks and durability to get inside and land the bombs. Now, let's go into how I believe Oliveira can win the fight. Now, Oliveira, technically sound. I think he's more technical than Gaethje and a lot of the guys in the division. Saw what he did against Dustin Poirier. He stood there, he struck with some of the best, and ended up submitting him. So I believe Oliveira can use his striking, can outstrike Gaethje. Gaethje swings and misses a lot, and Oliveira can capitalize on that with a good crisp 1-2 to the dome piece. So wait for him to swing and miss and counter it. Number 2, if Gaethje decides to use his wrestling, that's when Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is going to come into play. Well, even if he doesn't, he's known to jump on your back or jump in a guillotine and choke you out right then and there. I've seen him choke guys out with his back up against the fence. It's ridiculous. That's definitely why that's one of his superpowers. Though I believe that Charles Oliveira can, if he can't piece him up with his striking, he can definitely use his jiu-jitsu and choke him out. He doesn't care if he gets taken down. I'm gonna rely on my jiu-jitsu. I believe that Oliveira can go that same route and end up submitting Gaethje. Now let's get into who I think is gonna win this Saturday for UFC 274. I'm gonna go with my man Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. Like I said, I believe he's got more on his side to win the fight. Better striking, better jiu-jitsu. He's the taller, longer opponent, so that's who I'm going with. Type down in the comments down below who you think is gonna win this Saturday main event for UFC 274. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys are the best. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, throw some comments down below, turn on all notifications so you guys know when our next upload is. Peace.